What if the greatest prison in your life has no walls? Not your job, not your past, not the people who let you down, your mind. Every single day, thousands of thoughts flood through your head. Most of them aren't yours. They show up uninvited. A delayed text message shifts your entire mood. One piece of criticism replays in your mind for hours, sometimes days. A single setback convinces you everything is falling apart. And before you know it, your emotions are running the show, making your decisions for you. Here's what's really disturbing. Most people never even realize this is happening. They spend years treating their fears like facts, their self-doubt like their identity, their patterns like their destiny. They call it just how I am. But what if who you think you are is really just a stack of automatic reactions you never chose? What if your anxiety isn't hardwired into you? What if your anger isn't power? What if your need for people to approve of you isn't human nature, but a chain you've been wearing so long you forgot it was even there? Over 2,000 years ago, a way of thinking emerged that challenged something dangerous, the idea that life controls us. The people who believed it faced poverty, betrayal, exile, humiliation, even death. Yet many of them had something that people today search desperately for and almost never find: inner freedom. Not because their lives were easy, but because they mastered something far more powerful than circumstances. They mastered themselves. And once you understand what they figured out, you'll start seeing your struggles in a completely different way. The stress eating you alive, the opinions that control you, the failures that stop your momentum, the fears that quietly shape every choice you make. None of them have nearly as much power as you've been told they do. In this video, you're going to discover 5 Stoic practices built to create a mind that stays solid when everything around you is falling apart. Not hype, not quick confidence boosts, but real disciplines, timeless methods that can completely change how you handle failure, rejection, uncertainty, and loss. But before we start, there's something you need to do. Take a real, honest look at your life. How much of your peace depends on what other people think? How much of your confidence depends on winning? How much of your happiness disappears the second life doesn't go your way? Because here's the thing. The moment you see the chains, you stop being trapped by them. And today, you're going to see them clearly. Let's go. Discipline 1. The discipline of emotional detachment. There's a moment that happens to almost everyone, almost every single day. And it happens so fast that most people miss it completely. Someone says something. Maybe it's dismissive, maybe it's careless, maybe they didn't even mean it as an insult. And in less than a second, everything inside you shifts. Your chest tightens, your thoughts race. You start replaying what they said, rehearsing what you should have said back, building a case in your mind for why you were wronged. By the time you notice what's happening, you've lost hours. Sometimes an entire day. Sometimes the memory shows up years later, still carrying that same pain. This is what emotional entanglement looks like. Your inner world doesn't belong to you anymore. It belongs to whoever just spoke to you, whatever just happened to you, whatever thought just crossed your mind. You're being operated like a puppet by the world around you, with strings pulled by people who don't even know they're holding them. The Stoics had a specific word for the opposite. They didn't call it not caring. They called it apatheia. People usually translate it as apathy, but it really means freedom from being controlled by your emotions. Not the absence of feeling, but freedom from being enslaved by it. Marcus Aurelius, literally the most powerful man on earth at the time, he could have anyone killed with one word, wrote constantly to himself about this exact struggle. Not because he was naturally calm, but because he wasn't. Those journal entries, the ones we now call meditations, were his nightly training, reminding himself over and over that it's not events that disturb him, it's his judgments about events. Here's the deeper truth most people never get. Emotional reactions aren't responses to what's actually happening. They're responses to a story your brain tells about what's happening, and it does this faster than you can even notice. Someone cuts you off on the highway. The actual event is simple. A car changed lanes. but your brain instantly builds a story. That person is reckless. That person disrespected me. That person doesn't care if they hurt someone. And now you're not reacting to a lane change, you're reacting to an entire narrative your brain invented in a fraction of a second. This is where most people get stuck. They think the goal is to control their emotions directly, to force themselves to calm down after the damage is already done. But by then, it's too late. The discipline of emotional detachment isn't about stopping the emotional storm. It's about catching the story before the storm even starts. Let's look at how this plays out in real life today. Someone leaves a mean comment on your social media post. Within seconds, your brain has already decided what that comment means about you, about them, about your worth. You feel exposed, hurt, angry. You might spend the next hour writing and deleting responses, rewording them, imagining how they'll react. All of this because of text from a stranger you'll probably never meet, whose life you know nothing about, whose opinion has zero impact on your actual existence. Or think about a relationship where someone you care about pulls away, becomes distant, stops responding like they used to. Your brain tells you a story. I'm not enough. I did something wrong. I'm going to end up alone. And suddenly, you're not just dealing with their distance. You're dealing with every past rejection, every old wound, everything activated by one person being in a bad mood on one random Tuesday. Here's the paradox the Stoics figured out. And it's genuinely strange when you really sit with it. The people and situations that upset you most are usually the ones with the least actual power over your life. A stranger's comment can't take your job, your health, your family, or your future. And yet it can destroy your whole day if you let it. Meanwhile, the things that actually shape your life, your habits, your character, your daily choices, often go completely unnoticed because they don't trigger an emotional response. Real emotional detachment isn't coldness. It's being smart about it. It's feeling the right amount for the right amount of time about things that actually matter, and letting everything else pass through you like wind through an open door. Not blocked, not fought, just passing through without changing anything. Seneca wrote about a certain kind of person he noticed. Someone who trained themselves to take criticism the way a tall cliff takes waves. The waves crash, they make noise, they throw up spray, then they're gone. The cliff is exactly the same as before. Not because the cliff doesn't feel the waves, but because the cliff's existence isn't determined by them. This brings us to a bigger philosophical question. What's the actual difference between you and the things that happen to you? Most people can't answer this because they've never separated the two. Their sense of who they are is built from accumulated reactions, opinions, rejections, victories, and defeats all mixed together so completely that they can't tell where events end and they begin. But there's a self underneath all of that, a self that existed before the comment, before the rejection, before the bad news, a self that was there yesterday and will be there tomorrow, no matter what anyone says or does. The discipline of emotional detachment is the practice of returning to that self again and again every time the world tries to pull you away from it. Here's a practical exercise that Stoic practitioners have used for centuries. The next time you feel a strong emotional reaction starting, before you act on it, before you respond, before you even fully form the thought, pause and ask yourself one question. Is this happening to me, or is this just happening? A car changed lanes next to you. That happened. That driver disrespected me. That's something your brain added. Someone didn't text you back. That happened. They don't care about me. That's something your brain added. Try just for a moment to see the pure event without the story attached to it. You'll often find the actual event is almost comically small. It's the story that was unbearable. Do this enough times, and something amazing starts happening. The gap between the event and your reaction gets wider. What used to be instant, comment then rage, becomes comment, pause, choice. And in that pause you discover something most people never find in their entire lives. You discover that you actually have a choice. Write this down because it's everything else is built on. You're not required to suffer every single time the world gives you an opportunity to. Suffering isn't required. It's much more optional than you've been taught. And the moment you really understand this, not just as an idea, but as something you actually live, you become someone the world can't casually hurt anymore. Discipline 2, the discipline of controlling your perception. There's an old saying that gets repeated so often, it loses its punch. It's not what happens to you, it's how you see it. Most people hear this, agree with it, and then go right back to being destroyed by how things look to them. Because agreeing with something and actually living it are totally different things. So let's go deeper than just the saying. Let's actually understand what perception is and why learning to control it might be the single most powerful skill you can develop as a person. Your brain doesn't experience reality directly. This isn't philosophy, it's basic brain science. Your eyes pick up light, your ears pick up sound waves, your skin picks up pressure. Your brain takes all that raw information and builds a model, kind of like an internal simulation that it then shows you as the world. You don't actually see the world, you see your brain's best guess about the world, updated constantly based on everything you've experienced before. This means two people can stand in the exact same place watching the exact same thing and leave having experienced two completely different worlds. Not because the event was different, but because their internal models, their perceptions, were different. Epictetus started his life as a slave. His leg was permanently damaged by his master's cruelty. But he built his entire philosophy around one insight. Events themselves have no emotional charge. Wealth is neutral. Poverty is neutral. Even death, he said, is neutral. What actually creates the emotional reaction is the judgment you put on top of it. This sounds abstract until you apply it to your own life. Take failure. For one person, failing at something proves they're not good enough. Evidence that gets stored and remembered forever. For another person, facing that exact same failure, it's just information. That approach didn't work. Try something else. Same event. Completely different experience inside. The difference isn't the failure. The difference is the lens. Here's what most people don't realize. That lens was installed. You didn't choose it consciously. It got built piece by piece, starting in childhood, from what your parents said when you made mistakes, from how your early failures were treated, from 1,000 small moments you don't even remember anymore. All of that taught your brain what failure means. And once that lens is in place, it operates automatically, instantly, invisibly, coloring everything you see before you're even aware you're seeing it. This is where controlling your perception becomes genuinely powerful, because it's not asking you to think positive. Positive thinking is just installing a new automatic lens, a nicer one, but still automatic, still hidden, still able to distort reality in the other direction. What the Stoics are asking for is much harder and much more valuable. The ability to actually notice the lens itself, to catch it working, to see reality and separately see the story you're telling about reality as two separate things instead of one blended experience. Let's make this concrete. Imagine you don't get a promotion at work. You worked hard. The pure event. Someone else got selected for the role. Now watch what your perception does with that. I'm not respected here. I'll never move up. Maybe I'm just not good enough. Everyone else knows something about me that I can't see, and it's bad. Notice that none of these are actual facts. They're interpretations created instantly and then experienced like facts, with all the emotional weight of facts. Now imagine catching that process in real time. The promotion went to someone else. That's the actual event. Everything after that is a story your mind is offering you. One story out of many possible stories. You could tell a completely different one instead. This position wasn't right for me, and I'm being prepared for something better. Or now I have real information about what this company values, and I can decide if that's what I want. None of these stories are more objectively true than the others, but they're not equally useful either. And here's the deeper truth. You get to choose which story you focus on, because none of them are reality. They're all perception. This is where Stoicism connects to something much bigger and much deeper than self-help. it connects to freedom itself. What does freedom actually mean? Most people think it means having no limits, being able to do whatever they want. But the Stoics argued for something far more radical. The only freedom that really matters is freedom of the mind, because everything else, your circumstances, other people's actions, what happens in the world, was never under your control anyway. Marcus Aurelius wrote that external things can't touch your soul, not even slightly. They have no access to it. They can't move it or direct it. Only your soul moves and directs itself. Think about that for a moment. He was emperor during war, plague, betrayal, and the weight of running an entire empire. And he concluded that none of it could touch who he actually was unless he allowed it through his judgments. For some people this is scary, for others it's liberating. Often it's both, at different times in the same person's life. Scary because it removes your excuse. You can't say, I feel this way because of what happened anymore. You have to say, I feel this way because of how I'm interpreting what happened. That's a much harder thing to hide behind. But liberating because it means the exit was never locked. You had the key the whole time. You just didn't know there was a door. Here's a practical exercise to start working with this. At the end of each day, pick one moment that bothered you, even a little. Write down what actually happened using the most neutral, factual language possible, like you're a security camera with no opinions or feelings. Then separately write down the story you told yourself about what happened. Compare them. Notice the gap. Do this over time and something extraordinary starts to happen. Your brain learns to separate the bare event from the story in real time, in the moment, before the full emotional reaction takes hold. And when you can do that, when you can see the event and the story as two separate things even while they're happening, you've gotten something most people never get in their whole lives. The ability to choose your reality, not by lying to yourself, but by seeing it more completely than ever before. Remember this, the world doesn't assign meaning to events, you do, and whoever controls the meaning controls the experience. Make sure that's you. Discipline 3. The discipline of accepting reality. There's a specific kind of suffering that almost nobody talks about because it's so normal, it's invisible. It's not the suffering of pain itself, it's the suffering of fighting against pain. The suffering of wishing things were different than they are. Picture someone stuck in traffic, late for something important. The traffic itself is uncomfortable, sure, but watch what's actually happening inside that person's mind. They're not just sitting in traffic, they're at war with it. This shouldn't be happening. This is unfair. Why today? Every minute that goes by, they're not just experiencing a delay, they're experiencing a battle between what is and what they think should be. That battle is exhausting. And here's the weird part. It changes absolutely nothing about the traffic. The cars don't move faster because someone is furious about them. The only thing that changes is the internal state of the person fighting reality, and it changes for the worse. This is the discipline of acceptance, and it's probably the most misunderstood Stoic teaching, because when people hear acceptance, they think it means giving up, becoming passive, stopping trying to make your life better. That's the complete opposite of the truth. Acceptance in the Stoic sense isn't the opposite of action. It's the foundation for real action. The Stoics split everything in existence into two categories: things within your control and things outside your control. Within your control, your thoughts, your responses, your effort, your choices, who you become. Outside your control, literally everything else: other people's opinions, the past, the weather, the economy, other people's choices, even your own body's health. Ultimately, since anyone can get sick or hurt, regardless of how careful they are. When you really look at it, most human suffering comes from confusion between these two categories. We pour huge amounts of energy into things we can't control, wishing they were different, fighting against them, resenting them, and we put very little energy into the one thing we actually can control, our own response. Epictetus put it bluntly: people aren't disturbed by things, but by their stubborn insistence that things should be different than they are. Read that again. Not by the things themselves, by the insistence that things should be otherwise. Here's an example almost everyone can relate to. Someone in your life, a parent, a partner, a friend, acts in a way that hurts you. Again, maybe they're critical, maybe they're absent, maybe they're just being who they've always been, and part of who they are includes things that let you down. And you find yourself, for the 100th time, wishing they were different, wishing they'd finally see you the way you want to be seen, wishing they would change. This wishing feels like hope. It feels productive, like you're keeping a door open. But look at what it's actually doing. It's keeping you tethered to a version of this person that doesn't exist, a fantasy version, while the real person, the one actually standing in front of you, keeps being exactly who they've always been. And every single time the real person fails to become the fantasy person, you experience it as a new wound, even though honestly you already knew deep down who they really are. Acceptance doesn't mean you stop wanting things to improve. It doesn't mean you put up with mistreatment or stay in situations that actually damage you. That's a separate conversation entirely. Acceptance means you stop battling with reality about what's already true right now, so that you can actually respond to what's in front of you instead of responding to the gap between what's there and what you wished was there. There's a deeper level to this that connects to something almost every human being avoids thinking about: the nature of control itself and, ultimately, death. The Stoics were focused on death, not in a dark way, but in a clarifying way. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself that he could lose everything: his position, his health, his life, at any moment, with no warning. This wasn't pessimism, it was a tool. Because once you truly accept that everything, your possessions, your relationships, your body, is temporary, on loan, not actually yours forever, something shifts inside you. You stop bracing against loss because you stop pretending that loss was ever preventable in the first place. This is where acceptance becomes almost spiritual. Most people live as if the current state of their life, their job, their relationships, their health, their youth, is the baseline, the default, and anything that changes it is wrong, unjust, something to resist. But the Stoics saw it differently. They saw the current situation as a gift, temporarily given, that was never guaranteed to continue. From that perspective, every day that this arrangement continues isn't something you're owed, it's extra. And every change, even painful change, isn't a violation of some cosmic deal. It's just reality being what reality has always been. When something happens that you don't want, something you wish were different, try saying internally just 2 words: this too, not as giving up, but as acknowledging. This too is part of life. This too is something that happens to people. This too will pass like everything does. Then ask the only question that actually matters: given that this is what's true right now, what's the best thing I can do? Not what should be true. Not what do I wish was true. What is actually true right now, and what can I do about it? This single shift from fighting reality to working with reality is one of the most powerful things your mind can learn. It doesn't mean you stop trying to change things that can be changed. It means you stop wasting your energy on things you can't change. Energy you could be spending on what you can actually control. The deeper truth is this: acceptance isn't weakness. Resistance to reality is weakness, because it's a battle you can never win against an opponent. Reality itself, that never gets tired, never compromises, and always eventually wins. Acceptance is simply being smart enough to stop fighting a war that was lost before it started, so you can finally focus on the war you can actually win, the war for your own mind. Discipline 4. The discipline of being misunderstood. There's a fear that runs quietly underneath almost every social interaction, so normal that most people don't even recognize it as fear. It's the fear of being misread, judged incorrectly, seen as something you're not. You say something, and immediately part of your mind starts analyzing. Did that come out right? Did they take it the wrong way? Do I need to explain more? You post something online, and you imagine every possible bad interpretation. Sometimes you edit your words 5, 6, 7 times, not to say what you mean more clearly, but to make it impossible for anyone to misinterpret you. Here's the deeper truth, and it's genuinely hard to accept. It's already impossible. You're already being misunderstood right now by someone. Not because you did anything wrong, but because truly understanding another human being completely and perfectly, without distortion, has never happened in human history. Think about what it would actually take for someone to understand you. They'd need access to your entire life. Every formative experience, every fear, every hope, every private thought you've never spoken, the exact tone you meant, the context you were in, your mood, your history, all of it transmitted perfectly with zero loss. That has never happened, not with your best friend, not with your parents, not between any two people who have ever lived. And yet we act like being misunderstood is a malfunction, a problem to solve, instead of just the permanent reality of being a separate mind inside a body, trying to communicate with other separate minds inside other bodies, using just sounds and symbols that each person interprets through their own individual lens. Take Socrates. He was considered by everyone around him, even by his enemies, to be one of the most thoughtful, careful, and ethical people in Athens. He spent his entire life in conversations, questioning, clarifying, exposing his own thinking to scrutiny more than almost anyone in history, and he was executed by his own city on charges that make zero sense when you look at them from any distance: corrupting young people, impiety toward the gods. The man who arguably understood truth and virtue better than anyone alive was profoundly misunderstood by his own community, so misunderstood that they killed him. If the deepest clarity a human has ever achieved couldn't protect Socrates from being fundamentally misread by his own city, what does that tell you about your chances? This isn't meant to discourage you. It's meant to free you, because here's what happens when you finally accept that being misunderstood isn't a failure, isn't proof that you communicated poorly, isn't evidence that something's wrong with you. You stop performing. Think about how much of life is performance. Not intentional dishonesty, but constant exhausting adjustment based on how you imagine you're being perceived. Careful word choices. The version of yourself at work versus with family versus online. All of this adjustment is driven by one core belief. If people understand me correctly, they'll accept me. If I'm misunderstood, something bad will happen. But trace this belief to its root, and you see what it's really about. It's not actually about being understood, it's about being accepted. Understanding is just the tool people think leads to acceptance. And acceptance ultimately connects to something much older, the fear of rejection. For social creatures like humans, rejection was once, in evolutionary terms, literally life or death. Being rejected by your group meant danger, isolation, even death. That fear is still running in your nervous system right now. But for almost everyone reading this, being misunderstood by a stranger online, or even by a family member, won't result in anything close to the actual danger your ancestors faced. The threat response is ancient, the actual stakes are modern, and usually much smaller. Here's where it gets philosophically interesting. If being misunderstood is permanent and inevitable, then really there are only two options. Option 1, spend your entire life trying to control how people see you. An unwinnable game, because perception happens inside other people's minds, which you have zero access to and zero control over. Option 2, accept that you will be misunderstood by some people in some ways for your entire life, no matter what you do, and put all that energy towards something you actually can control, namely who you actually are, regardless of who people think you are. This is what Marcus Aurelius meant when he wrote about not needing others to know what's in your heart, but acting according to your own nature anyway. He wasn't saying don't communicate or don't try to be clear. He was saying don't make your inner peace depend on something that was never achievable in the first place. Being correctly understood by everyone. Here's a scenario almost everyone has experienced. You make a decision, leaving a job, ending a relationship, changing your beliefs, and the people around you don't get it. They invent motives that aren't there. Maybe they think you're being selfish or foolish or ungrateful or running away. You feel the urge to explain, to justify, to make them see it the way you see it. And sometimes you spend years doing this, explaining and re-explaining, hoping that if you just find the right words, they'll finally understand. But what if they don't have to? What if your decision can be right for you, can be made with real integrity, can be the best choice available, and still be misunderstood by people who weren't inside your experience and never will be? The discipline here is learning to let your actions be correct according to your own honest judgment, and letting other people's understanding be their business, not yours. This connects to something even deeper, who you're actually performing for. Imagine for a moment that no one was watching, no one would ever know, no reputation at stake. Would you still make the same choice? If yes, your choice comes from your values. If no, what you called a decision was actually a negotiation with an invisible audience. An audience that, by the way, can never fully understand you. The next time you feel the urge to explain yourself, to clarify, to make sure someone gets it, pause and ask, am I doing this because clarity will actually change the outcome, or because I'm uncomfortable with being seen incorrectly? If it's the first one, explain once clearly and let it go. If it's the second one, recognize that what you're actually trying to manage isn't their understanding. It's your own anxiety about not being able to control their perception. And that anxiety can be sat with, breathed through, and released without saying a single word. Walking through fog, some people will see you clearly in moments, in fragments. Others will only ever see a shape, a shadow, something they fill in with their own assumptions. This has always been true for every person who ever lived, including the wisest. Your job isn't to clear the fog for everyone. Your job is to keep walking with integrity toward what you've decided matters, regardless of who's watching and what they think they see. Discipline 5. The discipline of silence. In a world full of noise, where every thought can be broadcast instantly, where silence in a conversation feels like an emergency that needs to be fixed, there's something almost revolutionary about a person who simply stays quiet, who listens, observes, takes in information, and says nothing. Not because they have nothing to say, but because they've made a deliberate choice not to say it. Most people experience silence as discomfort. Watch any conversation when it pauses, even just a few seconds. Someone almost always jumps in to fill it. A joke, a different topic, anything to break the pressure of the quiet. And during arguments, silence feels unbearable. When someone insults you, not responding feels like losing. Staying quiet feels like admitting they were right. This is one of the deepest traps the untrained mind falls into. The belief that responding equals strength and silence equals defeat. The Stoics understood something almost the opposite. They understood that speech, especially speech driven by emotion, is usually a form of leakage. It's energy escaping, information getting away from you, control being given up, all while feeling in the moment like the complete opposite. Think about what happens inside your body when someone provokes you. There's a surge, pressure, an impulse to respond immediately, to defend, to win. That impulse feels like it's coming from power, but notice it's actually coming from a loss of balance. Something knocked you off center, and the urge to speak immediately is really an attempt to regain balance by pushing the disturbance back out onto the other person instead of processing it inside yourself. Every word spoken from that state carries the mark of that disturbance. It reveals exactly how much power that person's words had over you. The quicker and more intensely you respond, the more obvious that power becomes to them and to you. Now picture the opposite. Someone says something designed to upset you, and you simply don't react. Not coldly, not as some power play, but because internally the provocation didn't land the way it was meant to. There was no surge to control, because there was no loss of balance in the first place. What does that silence communicate? Usually much more than any words could. It communicates that the attempt failed, that the foundation didn't shake. This is what made certain historical figures so powerfully unshakable in the face of attacks designed to break them. Their silence wasn't something they performed. It was a result of an internal state that simply wasn't disturbed enough to need to respond. But there's another layer here, one that goes beyond conflict. Silence, real silence, deliberately cultivated, is also a form of self-knowledge. Modern life is basically engineered to prevent silence. The moment there's a gap, your commute, waiting in line, a few minutes before sleep, most people automatically fill it. A phone appears. Sound, images, voices, opinions, all pouring in continuously. And here's the question almost nobody asks. What am I avoiding by filling every quiet moment with input? For many people, the answer is themselves. Silence is where unprocessed thoughts surface, where unresolved feelings, the ones buried under constant stimulation, finally have space to come up. For someone who's spent years avoiding their own internal world through noise, silence doesn't feel peaceful. It feels like exposure, like suddenly being alone with someone you've been avoiding for a long time, yourself. This is why the discipline of silence is in some ways the discipline of self-confrontation. Seneca wrote about the importance of going inside yourself, of having a space, even just a state of mind, that you could retreat to, away from the world's demands and noise, so that you could actually examine your own life, not to escape life, but to return to it with clearer eyes. Here's how to use this today. Think about how often disagreements get worse. Not because of the original disagreement, but because of everything said afterward, in the heat of the moment. Things that 24 hours later, both people regret. The discipline of silence in this situation isn't about never speaking. It's about creating a gap, even a small one, between the impulse to speak and actually speaking. Long enough for the initial emotional surge to fade, so that whatever you say comes from clarity instead of just reaction. There's also something social happening here that's worth considering. In a culture where everyone's expected to have an instant opinion on everything, where not speaking on a topic sometimes looks like agreement or weakness or ignorance. Choosing not to speak can feel almost rebellious. But think about how many opinions you currently hold about people, events, situations that you formed in seconds based on incomplete information, just because you felt pressure to take a position. The discipline of silence includes the willingness to say, even just to yourself, I don't know enough about this to have a strong opinion, and that's completely okay. This single willingness to not know, to hold back judgment, to just observe without instantly categorizing, is one of the rarest and most powerful mental habits you can build. It keeps your mind flexible, accurate, and not warped by the need to defend positions you adopted too quickly. For one full day, before responding to anything that triggers an emotional reaction, whether it's a comment, news, an argument, wait. Not forever, just long enough to notice the urge to respond and let it pass through without acting on it. Notice what's still true after the surge fades. Often what remains is much smaller and clearer than what the initial reaction demanded. And in conversations, practice this. When there's silence, a pause, resist the urge to fill it for just a few extra seconds. Notice the discomfort. Notice that the discomfort is telling you something about you, not about the silence itself. The deeper truth is this: the loudest reactions usually come from the parts of us that are the most unstable, and the quietest responses, not from holding back, but from genuine internal steadiness, often carry more weight, more presence, and more real power than anything said in a moment of heat. Silence isn't empty, it's full of everything that didn't need to be said because nothing inside you needed it to be. Before you go, remember this: the world isn't going to become easier. People will still let you down. Life will still test you. You will still face rejection, failure, loss, and uncertainty. But that was never the goal. The goal was never a life without storms. The goal is to become someone who can walk through storms without breaking. Because the strongest person in the room isn't the loudest, isn't the richest, isn't the most liked. It's the person whose peace cannot be bought, can't be controlled, and can't be taken away. The person who doesn't need approval to feel worthy, who doesn't need revenge to feel powerful, who doesn't need perfect circumstances to feel at peace. That's real strength. And every discipline you've learned today is a step toward that strength. So when this video ends and life tests you again, pause. Remember who's in control. Remember that your mind belongs to you. And most importantly, remember that no person, no failure, no insult, and no loss has the power to break your peace unless you give them the keys. Protect your mind. Defend your peace. Master yourself. Become the kind of person the world can challenge but never conquer. The greatest victory isn't over others, it's over yourself. If this reached you, leave a comment below. I rule my mind, and I'll see you in the next video.